Bonjour! Today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. So February was a great month for me. I managed to read 7 books, 4 actual books, and 3 novellas, and I loved all of them. So let's get started. The first book I read in February was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This book was a masterpiece. I absolutely loved this book so much. It did not take long for this to become one of my favorite books of all time. This is a romance, and it's a bit of a Beauty and the Beast romance, and that is just so beautiful. It's one of my favorite romances ever to read. And Jane has quickly become one of my favorite characters of all time. She's so strong and independent, and she's not afraid to do what she thinks is right and to talk back to anybody who she doesn't think is for acting right. And she's just so kind, and she's intelligent, and her feminist ideology is so beyond her era. I can't. And then Mr. Rochester is so kind, and he's funny, and I love him. He's dynamic, and he is great. They're so perfect for each other. Even though they're 20 years apart, they couldn't be more perfect for each other. Jane is so mature and wise for her age that she is Rochester's equal, even 20 years apart. And I love this book so much. So much. And I can't stop thinking about this book. I love it so much. This book holds such a special place in my heart, and I will never forget about it. The next book I read in February was The Program by Suzanne Young. So I decided to count this as my TBR jar challenge for the month, and which was read a new author. So I actually got to meet Susan Young. I did a video about that. I'll link that down below. Susan Young is amazing. I love her so much, and this book is it's so powerful and heartbreaking, and oh my god, it's so beautiful. When the first part of this book is very, very dark, I had to take breaks when I was reading it because it was so painful to read, and I was just under so much emotional pain, but it was so powerful reading it. And when I met Susan, I told her that, and she said that when she was writing the series, she was crying too. I'm not going to go super into detail on how I feel about this book because I did do a review and it's going up soon, but I loved this book so much. This is such an important book to read. It's about the society where suicide is an epidemic, and the way they try to get rid of it is through this thing called the program, which is kind of like a rehab, but kind of like a prison. And they erase teens' memories. And supposedly it works, but the teens come out being a completely different person. Despite crying most of the time reading this, I gave this 5 stars, and I loved it so much. Next book I read in February was Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. I also did a review for this, and it's also coming up soon, so I won't go super in depth. But basically, this takes place in a fantasy world with witches and mythical creatures and all kinds of beautiful, amazing things. And the main characters, Saphia and Assault, I don't know how to say her name. So they are thread sisters, which is basically Parabati, but like witch style. And I love this book so much. Very few books in YA dive into amazing friendships. There was a romance in this book, but it was like in the background. Like the main thing about this book was just the friendship between the 2 red sisters, and it was so beautiful. I loved it. And if you love Throne of Glass, you will totally love this book. I don't know why, but when I was reading this book, it just gave me so much of a Throne of Glass feel. It's nothing like the Throne of Glass series. They have very little similarities besides the fact that it's fantasy. I don't know if maybe Susan Dennard and Sarah J. Maas have maybe like similar writing styles because they are best friends. This book is actually dedicated to Sarah J. Maas. The dedication is so adorable. It says, "To my thread sister Sarah," and I'm just like, oh, that's so cute. I also got to meet Susan, and she is amazing. She's so funny. She's so awesome. I love her so much. She was also in the video with Susan Young, and I love this book. So after Truthwitch, I saw on Goodreads that I was extremely behind on my Goodreads goal, and I was like 3 books behind, and I was like, oh my god, I'm never gonna catch up. So I went and read 3 novellas. So the first novella I read was Phoebe's Fair Valentine by Tara Lynn Child. So this isn't really a novella. I feel like it's more of like a bonus scene to the Oh My God series. So basically it's Griffin and Phoebe it's like their Valentine's date, and it was really cute. The only thing is I haven't read the Oh My God series in so long, so I felt very disconnected to the characters. When I was reading it, I was like, wait, who is this character again? Like, she mentioned her friend, like, Nicole, and I was like, wait, who is Nicole? I was so confused. I haven't read the series in so long. But I still really enjoyed it. It was so adorable. Griffin and Phoebe's gifts to each other were so small, but they were so meaningful. They gave like the smallest little things, but they meant so much, and that was just adorable. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read is Princess Lessons by Tara Lynn Childs. This was also like a bonus scene, but from the Forgive My Fin series. I loved this so much. I actually read the second book in the Forgive My Fin series last year, so I wasn't disconnected to the characters. I was actually very connected to the characters. It was so adorable. It was only 10 pages though, like I wish it was longer, but it was so cute. I love Quince and Lily so much. He tried to teach her how to go on his motorcycle, Princess, in this book, and it was just so cute. I loved them together so much. I gave this book 5 stars. Next, I read Steel Scars by Victoria Aveyard. So I really loved this. This gave such a background on Captain Farley and the Scarlet Guard, and it answered so many of my questions about the Scarlet Guard and so many things in the past of Red Queen, but it also brought so many questions. The last book I read in February is Norse Code by Greg Van Eekhout. So I actually met Greg twice. He's also in the video with Susan Dennard and Suzanne Young. I'll link that down below. He's just amazing. He is so funny and he's so cool, and he's always like, I'm awkward, but like in the few moments when his real personality comes out, it's awesome. I love him. So this book is Norse mythology. It's basically a war between the gods is happening, and it's kind of urban fantasy because it takes place in the normal world, and it was so awesome. I really loved the way Norse mythology blended with the real world. Like, that was cool. If you don't know what Norse mythology is, it's basically Thor, Odin, Loki, the Vikings. It's all like mythology from like the Nordic regions, like Norway, Sweden, Finland. I really, really loved it. I gave this 3 stars. The reason I gave it such a low rating for me anyway is because this was more my fault than Greg's fault. When I was reading this, I was kind of disconnected from the characters, and I was just in a really weird reading slump slash mood. I wasn't really in a reading slump, but I wasn't really like super pumped to read, and I also kind of like rushed through this book a little bit because I needed to finish this. I really wanted to finish this before February ended, so I was kind of rushing through this, but I still really, really enjoyed this book. And I don't know why more people don't know about Greg Van Eekhout. Like, he is so unknown. I didn't even know who he was until I went to the writers conference last year, and he is such a good writer, and he's such an awesome person, and like more people need to read his books because he is so cool, and like I love him, and I cannot wait to read more of his books, and I cannot wait to meet him again next year. These are all the books I read in February that I have with me. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment below what you read in February. Au revoir!